Hello everybody, this is Zoe from No Safer Place, and today I am here doing a roundup of all the books that I read in August. I wasn't going to do a video like this, but quite a few of you in one of my last videos suggested that I do a roundup again because you're missing all of my bookish videos, so I thought, you know what, I read so much in August since I've stopped doing the subscription box and taken a step back from blogging and YouTubing. I have actually read so much more. So last month I managed to read 16 books, and they were 16 quite big books, they weren't small, so let's get reviewing. These are gonna be quick reviews because if I do long reviews on 16 books, we're gonna be here all night. And no one wants that. So let's start with Horror Heights The Slime by Beck Hill. Now this was sent to me because everyone knows that I love Goosebumps and all things horror. So when I got the email asking if I wanted to read this generation's Goosebumps, how could I resist? Now this book is essentially about a young girl who is completely obsessed with slime. She can't afford to keep buying slime, so she thinks, I'm just gonna try and make some myself. And essentially what happens when she makes the slime, it comes to life and things just go downhill from there. At first the slime seems friendly, but it doesn't stay that way. I don't really know how I feel about this book. I wouldn't say that it was anything like Goosebumps, apart from the fact that it is horror. It's written by a comedian and I found it more funny than horror related, which I don't think Goosebumps was at all. I actually think Goosebumps was quite scary. Even now reading them back, I'm a bit taken aback that I read that as a child. But this I feel like is much more child friendly, a lot more comedic moments. I didn't dislike it, but the way it was pitched made me expect something completely different. But if you do have a young person in your life who does like horror and does like funny books, I would highly recommend this one. The next book was The Lockin by Phoebe Luckhurst. Now, I have mixed feelings about this book. I had heard really good things about it on a few of the book sites that I'm on, and I saw it for £6 in one of the local supermarkets, and I just thought, let's give it a go. It tells the story of 4 people who end up locked in a room together. 3 of them are housemates and the other is kind of a one-night stand, someone that she's met a few times, and they're all trapped in this room together. And there's a flood going on in the kitchen downstairs, so they're getting more and more frantic, and there's no signal where they are. The tension is just building and building, and they're there for quite a few hours, so they get talking and things start to unfold. People realise that they know each other better than they might think. There's a lot of history between the 4 of them, and yeah, in terms of surprises, this book is great, and it definitely is a real modern rom-com type book, but I just thought it was really slow. It was very jolty, like stoppy and starty. Some parts were really quite random. And I know that sounds like an odd thing to say, but just some parts didn't feel right, like the characters wouldn't do those things. So yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was easy to read, it was light-hearted, it was positive and funny, but yeah, it isn't a book that I would particularly keep or recommend to any friends. But if you are looking for an easy read, this is great. The next one is Contender the Champion by Taran Matharu. Now this is the 3rd in the Contender series. This series is amazing. I have reviewed the first 2 on my channel. I will link that down below if you want to read those. I don't want to say too much about this book because if you haven't read the first 2, I definitely don't want to spoil the last one. But it follows a group of teenagers who have been placed into this war against other planets in a world that is far from their own, and it's a world full of history and intrigue. There are people from all different types of times, like the Roman times and medieval times, and there's dinosaurs, and yeah, it's a crazy book. I can't really say too much about it without completely spoiling the series, but Taran's books are absolutely amazing. The 3rd one is the final in the series, and I would highly recommend it. Now the next one is Bookishly Ever After by Lucy Powery. Now this is actually a proof of the first one, because Bookishly Ever After was the third in the series and the final one. Now, I loved the first one. I put it in my book box. I adored it. The second one I read and I liked it, but it seemed to go downhill a little bit. And the third one, I just could not connect with at all. I know that Lucy is young, but it seemed like it was written by someone extremely young, like almost childlike. And obviously the main characters are teenagers and they just didn't feel like teenagers. So yeah, I feel like this book suffered a bit from being an amazing first book and then going slightly downhill. It really upsets me to say this because I adore Lucy, but yeah, I would read the first one and maybe stop there. The next one is The Trial by Laura Bates. I got sent this proof because I absolutely adored The Burning by Laura Bates. Again, I included that one in a subscription box of mine. And this one was absolutely amazing. It's very much a survival story. A group of friends get stuck on an island and realise that they may not be the only people there like they originally thought they would. And things start to take a dark turn as each of the group starts to be attacked in various ways, and they're just completely unsure who it could be, and they even start to suspect each other. So it's very much a survival story. And then at the end there was a bit that I found a little bit unnecessary. When you find out what's been going on, obviously a lot is revealed, and I can't tell you the bit that annoyed me without spoiling the entire story, but it just became a little bit too political for my liking. It didn't feel like a political book at all, and then when that bit came in at the end, it just didn't fit into the story for me. It just seemed out of place and just completely not how the characters would react. Yeah, the kind of first 7/8 of the book were absolutely amazing, and then the last few pages I was a bit like, ugh, not really liking how this is going. If the whole book had had that kind of theme, I would have loved the ending, but yeah, I don't know. I have some feelings about the ending. If you've read it, please let me know how you felt about the ending, because I would love to know. The next book I read was Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. Now, this was recommended to me by Hannah Witten. I saw that this book featured polyamory and that it was about Dracula and his wives and how they came to be, and of course I was extremely interested. It's about how the first bride of Dracula is made and how she feels about him now, and just how their life came to be, really, an origin story of the Bride of Dracula. And I liked it. It was very descriptive and there was a lot of sex scenes in it, and it was very lustful and there was so much desire in it, and yeah, it was kind of what I was expecting, and I did enjoy it. I feel like I'm being hypercritical of all the books that I'm talking about today because I did enjoy most of them. I just feel like I wanted more. I wanted more Dracula. I wanted more blood, more gore, but that's coming from someone who is completely obsessed with all things Dracula, so maybe if you weren't quite as obsessive about him as I am, you probably enjoy this more. The next one is Defy the Night by Bridget Camera, who you know by now is one of my favourite authors. I read everything she ever releases. She is just incredible. And this is actually 2 proof copies. I got a personalised one quite a few months ago now. I read it straight away. And then I got the US version proof copy, which I was not expecting at all. And let me tell you, this book is the first in a series and it's just insane. It is so good. There is a sickness sweeping through the kingdom. It is really deadly, and the only people that can afford the cure are really rich people, so the poor people are suffering big time. Tessa is our main character and she is an outlaw. She goes around stealing the cure and distributing it to the poorest people who need it most. So although she is a criminal, she's a good criminal, a bit like Robin Hood. And she does this job with this mysterious man called Weston. They both are always in a disguise, so neither of them know who the other one really is. Tessa decides one day that the only way to save the kingdom and for And for the population to survive really is to assassinate the king. So she embarks on this deadly mission and finds herself getting closer to the king and everyone around him than she originally intended to. I'm not going to say any more than that. I feel like I could do a 20-minute review on this, so if you want an in-depth review of Defy the Night, please let me know, because you know how much I love Bridget. I'm more than happy to talk about her books. The world building, as always, is just sensational. And yeah, if you haven't read any of Bridget's books, I would highly recommend it. The Cursebreaker series is probably one of my favourite series of all time, and I feel like this one will follow in its footsteps. Okay, the next two we have are both by Layla Slimani. So Hannah Witten, again, recommended Lullaby, I think it was. They both look really similar, so I can't remember. I'm sure it was Lullaby that she recommended. At the beginning, we're told that there is a nanny that has been working for this really rich family, and she's surrounded by the children, but they are dead. And the story is kind of unfolding what happened, who killed them, why they killed them, and it is dark. I remember when I saw Hannah Witten's review of this, she said that she didn't like the ending. I actually liked this ending. I feel like it tied things up well. I would like another book to see kind of what happened next, but in terms of how it ended, I was quite happy. It's definitely a really dark thriller, and yeah, a little bit crazy. Would highly recommend. Because I enjoyed that one so much, I then picked up Adele by Layla Slimani, which I devoured in a day as well. Now, I don't know what I was expecting from this one. I think because the other one was so dark and mysterious and full of intrigue, I was expecting the same from this, but I didn't get that. It was about a woman that was just completely obsessed by sex and everything sex related, and she was actually married but was having so many affairs, and this obsession with sex was taking over her life and making her do things she wouldn't usually do. Like, she was absolutely addicted to it, and it was kind of how that addiction took over her life and what happened because of it. This was a crazy book. I was expecting it to get really dark at some point and there to be a murder or something crazy to happen, but it didn't. It really was just about a woman who was absolutely obsessed with sex. Saying that, I did really enjoy it, even though it was not what I was expecting at all. Would highly recommend. The next book is Blackout. Now, originally I thought this was an anthology of short stories because I saw all the amazing black authors on the front and I was like, oh, it must be a collection of short stories. It is not. Each chapter is written by a different author, but it's all set in the same time. So each chapter is a different character written by one of these authors, but it's all happening in the same town at the same time. So there has been a citywide blackout and everyone's stories of how they coped with that, what happened, and all of their stories kind of becoming interwoven and linking up at the end. It was not what I was expecting at all, but I absolutely loved this. It was so good. So again, not what I was expecting, but this was one of my favourites that I read in August. And it has coloured sleeves. What more could you want from a book? I actually picked this up for £4 in Asda, so if you're wanting a cheap book that's amazing, this is the one. The next book that I read was The Heights by Louise Candlish. Now, I picked this book up for £6 in the supermarket. Whenever I see cheap hardbacks, I just can't resist them. This book was crazy. So a woman is minding her own business one day and she is doing her job, just going on with her normal life, and she looks up at this building and there is a guy there that she thinks she recognises. She realises that the guy is who she thinks it is, and she's absolutely flabbergasted because she killed this guy. This guy should be dead. And he has been dead for over 2 years now. And she's just really confused because she is just 100% sure that she killed him. So it's about uncovering if this really is the guy that she thinks it is, why he is still alive if it is him, how he is still alive if it is him, what is he doing back so close to her home, just kind of in plain sight. And yeah, it's a real thriller, a real mystery. There's a lot of tension in this book. I don't want to tell you more than that because I think you need to uncover the story by yourself. But yeah, this book has twists and turns at every opportunity, and it's amazing. I literally couldn't put it down. Would highly recommend this one. Okay, so the next books are all non-fiction. I don't usually read non-fiction. If you've been following my channel for a while, you will know that I'm not a huge non-fiction lover. But recently, again, been watching Hannah Witton's videos. She always recommends non-fiction books, and I've been reading a lot of sex books and relationship books. So when I saw she had a video about that, I kind of just bought them all. And I read a few of them, so this section is all non-fiction books. The first one is Be Period Positive by Chella Quint. You probably can already see what this book is about. It is all about periods, all the questions you would ever want answered about your period, all the things that you might be too frightened to ask or just may have never thought to ask. It starts from how to navigate your first period all the way up to menopause. I'm still quite away from that. But yeah, each page has a different question. It's full of amazing body positive images. Just to show you briefly, is it okay if my period is really heavy or really light? How do period pants work? How can I make my own reusable menstrual pads? There is so much information in here, and I wish I had been given a book like this before my first period, because it just kind of answered everything about them without me having to feel embarrassed or shy, which is definitely not how I am now. I'm all for period positivity, so even if you've had your period for many years, I would highly recommend this book because I found out some stuff that I didn't even know. So I'm sure you will too. The next one is Sex Ed by Ruby Rare. This is just the knowledge I wish I had gained in school. Sex ed at school is pretty horrific. You get a banana if you're lucky, or a dildo, plastic penis if you're lucky, that you practice putting a condom on, and that is where my sex ed started and finished. We watched a 2-minute film about how sperm go into the vagina and you get pregnant. That is pretty much all of the sex that I had. This is a pleasure focused book and it is incredible. It is for all genders, so it's not just marketed for women. It's full of amazing pictures, again so body positive. It's very similar to the Be Period Positive book in terms of this just answers all of the questions you could possibly have about a certain subject, this one being sex education. And there's spaces in the book for you to write your own things inside and answer some of the questions yourself. It is really interactive and immersive, and I couldn't put it down. It's easy to dip in and out of or just refer to a certain section. Everything from kissing to oral sex to sexuality and rejection, TIs, penises. I don't think I can show this particular picture, but there is just an amazing spread of vulvas and penises. It's just amazing. The next one is How the Pill Changes Everything by Sarah E. Hill. Again, recommended by Hannah Witton. I have been on the pill now for a very long time, at least 13 years I think it is now, a while, and I really want to come off it, and I thought this would be the book that kind of gave me that push. I know there's been a lot of speculation that this isn't just based solely on facts, it's a lot about opinions as well, which I kind of disagreed with. Everything that she says she does have evidence for. It may not be evidence that has been around for a long time, or it may be evidence that is still in the works, so they don't have the entire data yet. But I really enjoyed this. I have been dipping in and out of it because it is quite a hard read, but I didn't realise how much the peel really changes you, and because I've been on it since I was 14 years old, I don't really know any different. I don't know my body off the pill. And there was really interesting facts in there, like you may have chose a different husband if you had been off the pill. So now I'm terrified to come off the pill in case I'm not attracted to my husband anymore, because I've never known him off the pill. It just has some crazy mind-blowing things in there that I just couldn't imagine the pill made a difference to. So yeah, I would highly recommend this one if you're on the pill, or even thinking about going on the pill. Like the back says, the pill changes your brain, alters your stress response, can increase your risk of depression, don't I know that, and affects your choice of mate selection. Like, mind-blowing. The next one is 3 Women by Lisa Taddeo, something like that. Now this is the story of, surprisingly, 3 women. This book does not look like a non-fiction book, but it is. The author has followed these women for their entire lives. And through the 8 years that she followed them, she has spoke to these women in depth for hours and hours. She even moved towns and kind of uprooted her life to stay in touch with these women and talk about their lives and what happened. It's very easy when you're reading this book to kind of accept the fact that it's fiction and what you're reading isn't true, because some of it is just absolutely insane. Like, you cannot believe this happened to someone, because it's the kind of thing that you only ever read in fiction books. It almost feels like you're reading a best-selling thriller, but this is actually 3 women's lives. They lived this. So yeah, I would highly recommend this. This was probably in the top 3 of my favourite books that I read in August. Would highly recommend. And the last one is Vaxxers by Professor Sarah Gilbert and Dr. Catherine Green. Now, I was unsure whether to get the vaccination. I don't want to go into too much detail, but a vaccination that I had previously has now been proven to have caused my POTS, and that is a chronic illness that has just kind of completely ruined my life and has been really debilitating. So I was kind of wary going into it. So I wanted to educate myself and just to learn everything I could about it and then make my own decision. I have now actually just received my 2nd vaccine last week, so I'm as safe as can be now. I don't want to start any debates because I know a lot of you aren't having it. I know a lot of you have had it, but after reading this book, I was completely okay with having it. I mean, this particular book is about the AstraZeneca vaccine. I had the Pfizer vaccine because I think it's under 30s now can't have the AstraZeneca one. But if you're wanting to know more about how the COVID vaccine was made, how quickly it was made, I mean, that was one of the things for me, and I know a lot of people were dubious about how quickly it was made. This book tells you that kind of the basic ingredients as such of the vaccine have been around for a long time, that doctors have been preparing for this moment for a very long time. So although it seemed quick, this has been in the making for so many years, and doctors, professors have been anticipating this happening. But if that gives you kind of the push to get the vaccine, I would highly recommend reading this. It is a really heavy read, I'm not going to lie. It's not easy. I dipped in and out of this a lot. It took me a long time to read because a lot of it is very sciencey and information, and a lot. It's very overwhelming. It's a lot to kind of take in. So yeah, read it in sections or dip in and out of chapters that you want to read, but I think it's really important to educate yourself about any vaccine that you're getting, so I'm really glad that I read this book. And that is everything. I know that that is going to be a really long video because I was filming for so long then that my camera turned off and told me that the video had to be split into 2 sections, so wow. And now my throat is hurting, so I need some water. So yeah, what books have you been reading this month? How many books did you read in August? Is there a particular time of year that you read the most? I don't really seem to have a set time. I just seem to have random months where I'll read like 20 books and then the next month I'll read like 2. I mean, we're a week into September now and I have read 2. But hey, there's loads of September to go. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like, comment, subscribe, all that usual good stuff. Also, you can turn the notification bell on to be notified when I upload new videos, which hopefully will be at least once a week from now on. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you would like to see more of on my channel, and I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.